Because you're trash, that's why. You don't group up after dying, your ult economy sucks, you're using your PlayStation controller as a speaker, you probably even haven't got the kill feed audio setting on to assist with who's dead or not, you don't know what the Marvel team-up abilities are, you think Scarlet Witch is OP and you think Hulk is a throw pick! Well, that's probably a list of what some people might say, but a couple of my friends are hard stuck silver after we climbed together last season, and now we can't queue together until they dig themselves out of the hole, so I don't think it's such a simple answer as listing off a few things here and there. I have watched quite a few guides on how to rank up, how to reach diamond, and they have been awesome actually, but I haven't seen anyone talk about the issues that leave people completely frustrated with the state of their competitive experience. So I think there's two types of players I'm going to be talking to in this video. Those who were climbing last season and are now stuck, and those who just plain suck, but I think I can make it useful for both at the same time. So today, I'd like to shower you with knowledge that will help those of you wedged in the mud right at the bottom. But before you lose hope with your current ranked experience, just know that even though right now you may feel about as useful as shaving foam is to a Wookiee, remember how rank distribution works and how it will change across the season. Most people are currently sitting between bronze to gold after a week or so of season 1, and when I ranked up to Platinum 3, at the time this was in the top 8.5% of the entire server, and when I hit Plat 2 it was the top 5.52%. Am I suddenly a great player for achieving this feat? No, I too am complete trash, but I leveraged a couple of key things that I am good at, and I'm going to talk about those in a bit, but these cannot be the normal percentages for Platinum because of how many ranks there are above it. The player distribution will spread out as the season goes on, and Platinum might end up having as much as 20% of players in it, maybe more. This means that if you are hard stuck silver right now, but were Platinum last season, you've not suddenly become awful overnight. You always were, at least compared to how you're going to be. I said this before in other videos, but I'm going to say it again here. Your badge might be your rank, but it's not the whole story, as all those throwing whiners that you ran into last season, they've been punted right back to where you are now. Games are put together in a matchmaking rating, and if the same people from last season are playing at the early parts of the next season while you are, that's who you're going to run into. I'm not saying you'll never run into true bronze or silver players, and when you do, you'll spot them right away, but the first couple of weeks for the average player are not designed to give you that easy climb so that you can just spend the rest of your time stuck in Plat. No! You either play it out or you wait it out. But what if you never even made it to Plat last season? What if this is your first season and you're stuck somewhere beneath? No problem. Just take a deep breath and let the two words form in your mind as the pit of your stomach twists in pangs of agony as you know it's time to admit the awful truth. Say it with me. You're trash! And if you're sat thinking, who does this guy think he is calling me trash? I think I know garbage when I see it because my name's Ragtag, the greatest gutter tier gamer on the face of this earth, below F tier, but paradoxically above S tier due to liters of egotistical copium self-administered to prevent a major psychological meltdown. Therefore, I'm also bad, but I'm the best bad player you'll ever meet. Okay, so whether you're hard stuck from silver from the reset or you just never got out of the bowels of the lower ranks, it's okay. But before you go ahead and watch a rank climbing video, there is a simple truth behind the allure of these videos. After watching them, it seems like anyone can get to diamond, and while it's true, anyone can do it, unfortunately, everyone cannot. Otherwise, the ranking system would be completely worthless, just like my YouTube channel. It's good to put some perspective on the actual physical limitations while playing any competitive game with a view to ranking up. For those of you stuck in the swamps, there are going to be skills you need to cultivate that may never get up to the level that you're able to follow simple directions in a rank up guide. You know, the ones that are like, hey, playing a duelist? Just kill the enemy strategists and take away their team heals. Oh yeah, great, I'll just do that, even though every time I get to their back line, Invisible Woman disappears, Luna turns me into Frosty the Snowman, Mantis sends me to sleep, then Doctor Strange punches my soul into another dimension. Great advice! What we need to do is just strip it right back to basics. Now, I showed a website to my buddy Janks, who is a high-ranked player in almost anything he turns his hand to, and we took a reaction time test. Now, the lower the score, the better your reflexes, so bear in mind I was born in the 1970s, and yet, this was mine. Look at the median for the average person, so sub 200 seems like a good thing, and I was feeling great about mine, but then Janks took the test, and his first click was this. Some people are just on a different level, and that's alright. A quick reaction time though is a strong indicator of how well you can respond to enemies that pop out of nowhere, an ultimate that appears above your head or even under your feet. Basically, having a fast reaction time is the bread and butter for dynamic games such as this, and while you don't need to be freakishly quick like Jax to climb up, if your reflexes absolutely suck, there's no way to break it to you gently, you are going to find this game tough. That doesn't mean lose hope though, it means, well, expect to die a lot of dumb deaths. But okay, let's just say you are super fast like Jax or just above average like me, but you find yourself still stuck in bronze or silver. The other element that is linked to those reflexes is the continual quick-time decision making. This is the speed that your brain assimilates information and then the decisions that come from it. If you take a snapshot of a battlefield in front of you and you spot like an enemy Wolverine galloping down the flank, good for you. Your powers of observation are beyond contestation. The difference between a good player and a struggling player is that those powers of observation in the struggling player have been hyper-focused to the problem of the flanker, and while they do need dealt with, all the other information such as what will happen at the front line when you split off, will you get shot in the back, will you eat an ultimate, how many ultimates did the enemy team have, who else turned around in your team, was anyone else flanking, were they on the other flank? The better you are, the more information you can take in without panicking about one problem that you think could dismantle your whole team. I mean, you'd be right to think that. But you need to calm down so the rest of the information can flow to you and be considered, instead of, flapping like a chicken dreading that deep fryer. That was quite a good chicken impression. I have quite a bit of experience in the flapping department. Anyway, next up, ever watched a low rank game side by side with a high rank game? The higher ranks seem like they're playing at 2 times speed, and there's a reason for that. Now, back in the days of me actually being good at games, some of the RTS titles I played, like Warcraft 3, they would see people talk about how good your APM was, or actions per minute. This refers to how many clicks or keystrokes you'd be taking to perform an action. And in Warcraft 3, that was micromanaging everything from moving infantry around in combat, base management, resource production, the heroes and their abilities. You get the idea. Everything would need constant attention to try and gain an advantage using sheer efficiency and good decisions with that efficiency as well. A good APM to shoot for back then was probably over 150, but if it was mindless spamming, then APM meant nothing. Now with Marvel Rivals, it's more like every click or button press being done with sheer fluidity and making as many correct decisions as possible. They do kind of sound similar, but if your reflexes are absolutely horrific, good decisions in terms of when to use your abilities, where to stand, using objects for line of sight, all that stuff is going to be absolutely pivotal in your efforts to rank up, and your APM will increase as your decision making gets better. Everyone is going to have a unique set of issues, by the way, and it's okay to admit that you've gone over the hill as a geriatric gamer, or you just get overwhelmed by too many things going on at once, or you can't aim or track enemy positions, you forget who's used their ultimates, you don't know who's alive and dead. Whatever it is, own it. And if you can't overcome it, you have to work around it. Unless all of those things apply to you, in which case you are truly screwed. Let's take me as an example for the case of ranking up. Everyone who has made these guides that I've been watching, they are very good players, and you know what? They all hit Diamond with ease. In fact, Diamond is a stepping stone for them on their way to greatness. So I've hit Diamond in Apex Legends, I hit Diamond and Masters in Overwatch 1, placed Diamond 3 in one season of Overwatch 2, but the difference between me and your average Diamond player is that now, 2025, when I get there, it's not going to be a walk in the park. In fact, it's the top of the mountain these days. I feel like a fraud among these guys. It generally takes me much longer to get to this rank because I often play like I have room temperature IQ, yes, but I need a large volume of games to ride out the swings of inconsistencies for both myself and the throwers on my team. But most importantly, I've made peace with what I suck at. Some of these things are not going to change because I limit my playtime to save my poor suffering back, and I don't want to burn out on something I'm enjoying either. Perhaps I would enjoy it more if I got better, you may say, and you might have a point. In fact, even now, there's footage playing in the background and someone's going to be typing a comment about what I've done wrong. But there's two things I'd say to that. One is that watching someone play allows observation to be the sole focus of attention, so it's much easier to be a critic from snapshots without the rest of the information from the game. And the other is that whatever your observation you're making is probably right, but you'd be wasting your time, as I'll never remember any advice, which makes it about as useful as a windshield wiper over a goat's butthole. When it comes to yourself though, getting unsolicited advice or being told that you suck while you're in the game is probably happening a lot, let's face it, and I know it's going to rock your confidence. Believe me, I know. Only yesterday I was told that I was providing 0 heals, that I was lying about being stabbed to death at the back line, and most importantly, that I was a dog poop healer. I was like, thank you, bro, for reading out my autobiography, but I already know it, word for word! But if I look at my problems, seriously, there are some physical limitations I can't do much about. I can't move my eyes too quickly across the screen to look at something, because if I do, this happens. I fat finger my abilities from seizing joints. I'm currently struggling with the concept of a win condition comeback, which is to say that if I've tracked the enemy ultimates and deaths correctly and we're outnumbered, pressing Q and doing my ultimate is going to make, say, a 3v5 completely winnable. But I have no idea when those moments occur, so most of the time I end up losing those fights if I do actually pull the trigger on it. I also have limitations with my mechanical skill with duelists versus, say, my tanking abilities. The two just don't match up. My memory with doorways and their location in relation to where I'm actually standing is embarrassing, and I die many a death backing up into walls. Look, you get the idea. Therefore, what I've been doing is leveraging what I do know about what the enemy team wants. Play Groot as often as possible. Wall them off, and as soon as we win a team fight, I push W as far as is safe to do so to chase down the stragglers. And by doing that, I'm climbing. I do not climb by trying to be more mechanically proficient, for that would be dumb. Instead, I think about what my opponent wants and use the information to formulate a trap of my own making. But for me, climbing, hitting diamond is going to still need more volume than your average diamond enjoyer, because I'll just make many more mistakes along the way, and this is likely my final destination. And do you know what? I'm not worried about it, not really. The little hints and tricks along the way, by the way, you can pick them up and they will be super helpful. But if you are stuck in a low rank, sheer volume of games is going to provide the opportunity to learn from your mistakes. I mean, that doesn't mean that you will, as I still see people in my rank try to contest a lost team fight when they don't even have the point, and yet they still fire off their Luna ultimate. But let's say you are in the same position as my friends who were plat with me last season and are now still silver. The only thing I would say is you just have to ride out the man babies in chat who stopped trying after their first death. Unfortunately, nobody is uniquely cursed in this respect. They are everywhere, and I have seen more than I would like to describe. Okay, here's how it would go for me. I would say do a 3-hour session and I would end up worse off than I started rank-wise, and then 3 hours the next day only to get back to where I was 2 days earlier, and then the day after that, maybe, just maybe I can pull this off and climb a bit. How much of that was people throwing their toys out the pram? Good grief! I don't know, but the difference between my friends and I is I just played more and died more too. But I'm sure a good player could have done it in a quarter of the time it took me to reach Plat 2. In fact, the only reason I'm even attempting any kind of ranked journey is because I'm genuinely finding this game fun, and I'm currently able to shrug off the toxicity. There may be a time where I'm not going to accept it anymore, and it's happened before. I just disabled voice chat. That'd be my condition for even queuing, but for now, I'm not letting a team implosion ruin my session, because it happens so often that I think I'm building up an immunity to losing. But for a moment, let's not talk about your losses, let's talk about your wins. Assuming you haven't been carried to victory like I am on many an occasion, the opponents you beat in bronze or silver games will have inevitably fallen prey to your superior tactics, mechanical skills, hero matchup. Just take your pick, you got the job done, right? Let's be generous and call your skill level 1 and your opponents were level 0. You didn't need to come at them with skill level 2 because, well, it may not even exist, but what I'm trying to say is that your understanding of the game was too much for those enemies and you didn't need to do anything too tricky to get the job done. Alright, but what about when your level 1 game is put against another level 1 player? You find an unstoppable force meets the immovable object, so what then? Well, your previous strategies that bowled over your enemies now become long drawn out, stalled overtime games that are decided by factors outside your entire game plan, inevitably resulting in a match that you lose. But fear not, you get blamed anyway and told to uninstall by the rest of your team. I have to say, personally, I do enjoy those close games. It makes me feel like my skills are being tested to the edge. But then when you come up against a player that not only knows your level 1 approach, they've adapted to something that now seems impossible to overcome, and you guessed it, there's level 2 happily sending you back to spawn again and again. You have to remember that the enemies will try to constantly find a way around what you are doing, and when you're playing well, they obviously can't figure it out. When you get rolled, it's your teammates' fault, right? No! Well, maybe. But something that happened a lot in Overwatch was the simple realization that some heroes are just better when matched against others, and those of us in ranked started to call these multiple hero swaps to get the correct kind of play Counterwatch. I know you might be thinking, hold on, I'd only play 3 heroes! And I understand, that is the problem with these matchups. If you run into ones that counter you naturally, you will just find yourself at a disadvantage. If Spider-Man is annihilating your backline and everyone screams at you to deal with him, don't worry, it's probably a Smurf and the game will be over soon. But you get what I mean. I personally don't like playing Star-Lord versus a Spider-Man, but I do like Punisher's shotgun kerblamming that pesky web-slinger's mask right off his face. So you'll start to see hero matchups matter quite a bit, and the more you one-trick a particular character, you'll get the double-edged sword. You know, you'll have to come up with more options to deal with all the other heroes and the playstyle that your enemies adopt. But then, you know, sometimes it's just going to be making your life harder. And but by the way, it happens to me too. I can mostly still make Groot work if I'm playing him, but sometimes I just need to swap out to Luna for a third support, or I'll take a DPS if our backline is needing a good peel from Black Panther. The idea of levels to our game theory, though, it often escapes us because our egos convince us that we will find a way, and if not, definitely not our fault because I didn't get healed. GG! I suppose we should also talk about teammate behavior and the effect that it has, especially if your teammates start, you know, gang piling on you or worse, trying to coach you when all you're probably thinking is, calm down, pal, we're all the same rank here. Getting criticism happens a lot to me while I'm streaming, and even more so back in the day with Overwatch. At my absolute peak, I was Masters rank tanking one day, and someone in chat tried to tell me something I could have done better. I explained why they were wrong and asked them what rank they were, and the nice chap replied, "Oh, I'm Silver," which doesn't negate his observation, by the way. Well, it did in this case, but it really boils down to the fact that there are just different thought processes between these ranked gaps. Worse still, you're going to find gaps in skill knowledge when you are the same rank as some of these people, which is why so many disagree on hero choices, strategies, and start picking on certain players for seemingly no reason. But there is a reason, and that reason is the conviction through the lens of one who believes they can solve it all by singling out the problem, you. You know what, it might be true, but it is just as likely a trash opinion, and it needs treated with a grain of salt. People who want to coach or bully others into doing what they want, they're going to do it no matter what rank they are, because for all their wisdom, they are blind to the idea of multiple perspectives. The backline sees a completely different game from the front line, for example, and you will regularly see me tell strategists that I like their comms, and please will they keep shouting at me if I'm standing somewhere stupid. So let's take everything into account. You've got the state of rank distribution, the need to increase the volume of games, your quick time decision making, actions per minute, leveraging an existing skill set, thinking about levels of gameplay that work until they don't. All of this stuff is good and well, but you still have to deal with the psychology of defeat, especially with so many of the games you play. There's going to be someone hard throwing. I don't think it is an exaggeration to say this either. People just say that, you know, when you talk about it being such a big part of the games that you're moaning for no reason. No. Teams are imploding on an incredibly frequent basis. And why would you not assign blame to these individuals as responsible for keeping you down? Even if, in some twisted way, these guys are seeing themselves as one of those characters who craves conflict that makes them play better while they're angry and enraged as if they're somehow the embodiment of Billy Hoyle from White Men Can't Jump. Perhaps some people don't understand that reference. I don't care if it's true or not. Getting angry makes you play better, or getting angry is going to make my team play better. Nonsense. Morale goes down, people lose games. Instead, realize the lingering effect on your psyche after one of these awful games with the awful people in them. And while I can't fix you in a single video because I don't know you, what I do know is that I fixed it for me by incorporating it into my expected defeats. Let's say I won 7 and lost 5. Of those 5 losses, 3 of them might have been someone throwing their toys at the pram and contributed directly to that loss. If it weren't for those morons, I would have won 10 and lost 2, right? No. Telling myself that would be a complete lie, because even if nothing was said, there's no telling that it would be 100% a different outcome. I mean, maybe, but there's no way to say it without being specific and having all the circumstances. You see what I mean, though? Obviously, in like one of my videos when someone was throwing himself off the cliff, you can just count that game out completely, but other times, you don't truly know. So with Marvel Rivals in general, idiotic or toxic teammates, just put them into your expected RNG. No one wants to lose because it's someone else's fault, and in fact, no one wants to lose at all. But if you're stuck in a lower rank, you've still got plenty of lessons to learn every game, and they will matter when it comes to the matches that feel like they can go either way. Once you get to this stage, you become hyper aware of what you suck at, you leverage what you're good at, and I think you're ready for all those rank up guides, and climb you shall. Well, some of you. Finally, I just want to say you'll always meet people who think that climbing is easy and they don't understand the problem, as they got to Grandmaster without even thinking about it. Well, good for them, eh? Well, when I was a young man, I took my degrees in music, and locating pitches, it just came easily to me, and had done since I was a boy. So before I knew it, I could look at sheets of music and hear the correct sounds inside my head as I silently read them. I didn't need to play it. If I'd never seen it before, I already knew how it sounded. So by the time it came to the exams, we'd have to do something called melodic dictation. You'd hear some notes played out on a speaker, you'd write them down according to their pitch and rhythm, and with someone like me with excellent pitch memory, this exercise was a joke! I didn't even need the starter notes that they were giving as a guide. So when I took an exam in it, there was 100 of us in the room, 8 of us thought this was the biggest waste of time ever. What I'm trying to say is, don't ever look at people in Marvel Rivals or any game if they've got this crazy ability and they almost mention it casually, as if they're stating the benchmark for common sense in games. It's either a case of casual bragging rage bait, or they're just truly clueless as to how bad everyone else is in comparison. But let's face it, it's usually rage bait. It is highly unusual to face roll your way to Grandmaster. Of course it happens, but most people don't do that. Now, statistics, they dictate that quite a few people watching are going to be stuck in bronze to gold no matter what, even after this video, and if that's the case, bless your little silver socks. But even then, what if you could? I mean, I will never forget the time I used to do Overwatch coaching for low ranks, and I came across a Tracer player who had a disability. It meant he couldn't use his hands for gaming, and he adapted to using a controller with his feet. And despite him being in silver, he was absolutely destroying his peers. So let it be known that determination and loving what you do, that has a profound effect on your results. You might be a statistic now, but so long as you play with a smile on your face and the rank does not define who you become, the momentum you gather along the way is worth the journey. Take it easy, catch you on the next one. Later!